All right, guys, story time, story time, story time. I want to jump on here real quick. I haven't done a video now since before tax season, but man, I just want to jump on here real quick and talk about be careful who you listen to and be careful about jumping on the bandwagon without having a plan. I'll get to that in a second here, but let's go ahead and talk about it. Man, the stock market in these last 2 days have been crazy, 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 crazy. I think we're up about, I'm up about 12% in the last 2 days. And I'll tell you, from where things were at the high, which was like January 22nd, all the way down to the low, which was Liberation Day on April 8th, I think my portfolio went down by like 40% at one point. And then now, year to date, I'm only down by like 2%. And at this point now, the S&P 500, it's break even for the year. As of January 1st, it's almost like nothing ever happened. And when it comes to Liberation Day, what Wall Street is telling you right now, they look forward about 6 months. They're telling you right now, they're pretty much not even tripping. So during all this calamity and volatility and everything that else happened, you really had three options. You could have sold it all, cashed out, and said, I'm out of here, which a lot of people did. You could have held on for dear life and prayed and talked a bunch of mess and been online and talked about how your retirement's gone. You're not going to be able to be able to live. You're going to be eating cat food, which a lot of people did. Tune into TikTok, you'll see that. Or the other option, what a brave few, probably not a brave few, but a lot of people actually jumped in and they bought more stock. I know I did. And so that's what I did. I bought more stock. I started investing more and more on a daily basis. And then on some of the days that things were down, I jumped in and threw a little bit of extra dollars in there. And then even I had my daughter, I got her started on her birthday last year with a Robinhood account. And she was like, oh my God, look at what's happened to the market. I had her go ahead and increase her investment into the market and checked in with her recently. She's like, wow, it's back. So, it's just one of those things. Over time, you learn that these are like rare opportunities to be able to make money. And I'll tell you, can you imagine really, like I said, in a little bit over a month, the market has gone up 40%. Could you imagine anything that imagine if you bought a house and in 30 days, it went up 40%. Imagine if you invested $1 million in the market, it went up 40% in 30 days, and then all of a sudden you had almost $1.5 million. That's what happened. I'll tell you, a lot of people got wealthy during this glitch in the matrix. I'm telling you. A lot of people saw this as a crisis and they panicked, and other people saw this as a manufactured buying opportunity. And so one of the other things that's really interesting, which I'm getting to right now about be careful who you follow. I know a lot of folks were celebrating the Elon Musk and the downfall of Tesla and the Tesla stock and all that. I think at one point, Tesla's probably up to about $4.45 a share not too long ago. They got down to $214 around April 8th, and folks were doing victory laps. They were claiming the defeat of Tesla, and then they wanted to go ahead and continue, with other companies bringing them down. But I'll tell you what, never, ever, ever bet against Elon Musk. I think pretty much anybody knows that's been investing in Tesla or following them for years. Anytime there's any opportunity where there's something that causes the stock to sell off, you jump in there and you buy. And so now the stock got down to 214. It's back up to 335 now in 30 days. And so that's an increase of almost 55% in a month. So just think about that. A 55% increase in your value if you jumped in and bought Tesla at 214 to today. That is significant. If you had $1 million, it's now worth almost $1.6 million. So like I said, folks need to have learned not to bet against Elon. Anytime anything ever happens with him or his companies, they see those as a buying opportunity and they jump in. And like I said, folks made money. And so kind of getting to what I was talking about here. If you react, and I know a lot of folks were telling people, hey, go out, sell your Tesla, dump it, get rid of it. And people did. They sold their cars. They tried to rebrand them. They turned them in for a significant loss on trade-in. They end up buying a new car, another, EV vehicle. They end up buying those at higher interest rates. They rolled the loss from the previous Tesla into the new car. And in the end, I'll tell you what, they probably are still using the Tesla superchargers, because the Tesla superchargers, we have an EV car. And if you have an EV car and you use EV Go or some of the other ones, they're not necessarily reliable, especially if you want to travel long distances. And so when it comes to being able to get consistent charging, most cars now are compatible with Tesla superchargers. So those people will still end up using those. And so getting to my point here of this whole thing about being careful who you follow. I had a client, a potential client, call me during tax season. This was like right after the crash and liberation. And he actually worked for Tesla. He was a member of the LGBTQ community, and he hadn't filed taxes in a couple of years. And his partner had, basically said, hey, you got to get your taxes filed, or, we're pretty much going to be about done here. And so he was looking around, and he called me, he saw me, and we spoke. And like I said, he actually worked for Tesla. And so what did he do? He, because of the community he's involved in and his feelings and what was happening, he went ahead and sold all of his Tesla stock at the bottom. And so now he had no plan. I was like, well, how much you going to owe in taxes? But he had no idea. And I said, okay, cool. So you sold your stock. Great. You sold it at the bottom. Great. You haven't filed your tax in a couple of years. Great. What's your plan B when it comes to capital gains? Had no idea. And then ultimately I was like, okay, are you looking for a new job? I'm just curious. He said, no, I'm not. He just reacted to what was happening in the media, and he felt that was an appropriate thing to do. And so, like I said, he jumped into the whole thing and reacted, and he didn't take the time to really think about what was going on. In the end, it was a detrimental move to himself. So who's here to save him? Nobody. And and ultimately, I didn't end up doing his taxes. He didn't end up calling me back. But if he ever does call me back, I'm more than happy to help him, more than happy to assist him. But it's a story that is relevant. You have to really be careful who you listen to. And if you decide to do anything that's harsh, make sure you have a plan B. Make sure you think everything through. And even like the person that decides they want to sell their Tesla car or whatever, ultimately in the end, if you go buy another EV, you're going to end up using Tesla superchargers. If you hate Tesla and you say, I'm not going to support Tesla anymore, if you have a 401k, if you have a retirement account, you have a cash account, and you have anything that's invested in the S&P 500, it holds Tesla stock. And so in the end, you're ultimately betting against yourself. So there's nothing wrong with being angry. There's nothing wrong with being mad. There's nothing wrong with protesting. There's nothing wrong with making financial moves. Because I'll tell you, if somebody is not kind to me in the store, I don't use my money at all. I don't feel like I need to fight to have them take my money. I'm out, and so, but if you are going to jump onto a movement, think it all the way through and make sure that none of the repercussions are going to end up blowing back on you, because ultimately in the end, if they do, nobody cares. Nobody's going to help you. Nobody's going to assist you. It's your own hole that you dug for yourself. And like I said, be careful who you listen to. And if you do listen to somebody, think all the variations through. And like I said, at this point right now, the market is up 12%. It may be down 12% tomorrow. Who knows? Who cares? Continue to stick to the plan. Continue to move forward. Do what you got to do. And just remember, like I said, in the end, everything blows over. And ultimately, in the end, there's very little change that comes from things. So continue to brace for impact. Things may get worse. They will probably get worse. They will probably continue to get worse. We don't know where things are going to go. Remember, nobody's coming to save any of us. So make sure you take care of yourself and the people around you guys.